Today's lesson is on converting measures. You're going to need to open up your notes packet or open up your notebook. If you're in your notes packet, you're going to be on page 16 for today. That's where these notes are found. So one of the things that we're going to need to do is have a conversion chart, which I'm going to show you right here. This is a really good conversion chart. It's going to be posted in Google Classroom. It'll be posted on the stream, and it'll also be posted with the classwork for today. So this is a conversion paper. The big G represents gallons. Inside gallons, you'll see 4 Q's. Those represent quarts. Inside a quart, there's 2 P's, which represent pints, and inside a pint, there's 2 cups. So there's 2 cups in a pint, 2 pints in a quart, and 4 quarts in a gallon. So that's kind of how you use this. On the back side of this one, you'll see some other units of measure too. For what we're going to see today, we're going to be working with what are called customary units. Metric system is what you're going to use in science class, and it's based on the tens units, so that's actually way easier to use. But we choose in the United States, we've adopted the customary system, so that's what we have here. So when we talk about length, we're talking about inches, feet, yards, miles, and you can see some different things here. One of the things that I would recommend adding in here, we have 1 yard is 3 feet. I would actually put equals 36 inches as well, because that's a pretty common one that you can use to go from yards to inches. When you talk about capacity, that's when you're filling something. So that's what we saw on the front. Fluid ounces, like if you think about a water bottle, you have cups, pints, quarts, gallons, and you can see the different measurements here. This is what was found on the front, but the 1 cup equals 8 fluid ounces. Weights, customary weights, we talk about ounces, pounds, tons, so you can see the conversions here. So we're going to be using those today. So I'm going to reference that sheet, but I'm not going to bring it back up on the screen for you. These are some basic street conversions, and what we're going to do for today, I know you can solve them otherwise, but we are in the chapter that's learning about proportions. So we're going to use proportions to set these up today. So the way that you use a proportion is you start off with your proportion setup. And look at what's given to you. 10 feet equals blank inches. So we're going to put 10 feet x inches because we don't know what it is. In a proportion, feet over inches, the units have to match, feet over inches. So on this side over here, this is where we put our conversion then. So if I'm looking at my conversion sheet, I know that 1 foot is 12 inches. To solve a proportion, you cross multiply. 12 times 10 is 120. X times 1 is 1x or just x. So I don't have to do anything else to solve. 10 feet is 120 inches. You can easily check yourself. 10 times 12 is 120, but remember we're in the proportions unit, so I will expect to see proportions. In part B, remember proportion setup, start with what you're given. 74 quarts over x gallons. Quarts over gallons, so we're going to have quarts over gallons. And when we look at this one, there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. You can either use the front or the back of your sheet. Cross multiply, you're going to get 74 equals 4x. Divide by 4, and you're going to get x equals 18.5. And your label then would be gallons, but you can put it back up here. If I look at letter C, start off with your proportion setup. 196 ounces over x pounds, ounces over pounds, ounces over pounds. If you go to your conversion sheet, 1 pound is 16 ounces. 1 times 196 equals 16x. Divide through by 16. X equals 12.25. And since the decimal does terminate, it means it ends. We're just going to write down exactly what we get. Letter D, this is the one that I told you to go ahead and make sure that you put in that conversion that 1 yard is equal to 36 inches as well as 3 feet. You're going to pause the video and you're going to go ahead and solve this one, and then you'll pick your answer and then come back to watch me solve it. Solving this one, you're going to do 180 inches over x yards. Start off with what you're given. Inches over yards. Inches over yards. Conversion, we know there's 36 inches in 1 yard. Cross multiply, 180 equals 36x. Remember, I'm just going across here. Divide by 36, and you get x equals 5. So 5 yards. Multi-step conversions down here, just kind of, we're not going to have you solve proportions. So for multi-steps, you do not need to use proportions. You can just use your facts. 6 feet, 4 inches, we're going to inches. So 6 feet, you're going to have to do times 12, and that's going to give you 72 inches, plus 4 inches would give you 76 inches. I'm going to have you take a minute, pause the video, do letter B, and then you're going to select your answer and then come back. Make sure you use the conversion chart. Taking a look at the conversion chart, if I look inside 1 quart, I'm trying to go to cups, I see there are 4 cups in there. In 2 pints, I see that there are also 4 cups. Should put little C's here. And then 1 cup. So 4 plus 4 plus 1 is going to be a total of 9 cups. Okay. Word problems down here, we have 2 of them. Sam has a ball of twine. It says it has 390 feet. He needs to cut lengths for a project. He needs 10 pieces that are 4 yards long and needs the rest cut into lengths of 2.5 yards. First of all, I hope you're noticing that this one's in feet and then these are yards and yards. So what I'm going to do is I can either convert these into feet or then I can convert this one into yards. So it's kind of an option for me, whichever I choose to do. I'll show you both methods. So if we want to stick with 390 feet, for each one of these 4 yards, that's going to be 12 feet because there's 3 feet in a yard. And I need 10 of those. So I'm going to need to use 120 feet. So I'm going to subtract 120 feet because those need to be cut first. When I do that, I'm going to get 270 feet. Okay, and then it says I need to cut the rest into 2.5 yards. If I do 2.5 yards, that's going to be 2.5 times 3, which is going to give me 7.5. So I'm taking what's here, the 270 feet, and I'm dividing it by 7.5 feet for each one of those. And when I divide, I'm going to actually get exactly 36 pieces. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, let's switch over, we'll do a different color here. If I go 390 feet, I could actually change this, divide it by 3, and I'm going to get 130 yards. So I could start off this way, 130 yards. I need 4 yards times 10. So 4 times 10 is going to be 40 yards. So I'm using up 40 yards with the first cut. And when I do that, I'm left with 90 yards left. Then these are going to be cut into 2.5. So if I divide by 2.5, I end up getting the same exact answer of 36 pieces. So either way would be totally acceptable here. Last one, Maria and her brother were having a race. She was able to bike 18,480 feet in half an hour. What is her speed in miles per hour? So we're going to set this up as miles per hour. This is a rate question. Problem is I have feet, so I need to change this over to miles, and I can do that by dividing by 5,280 because there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. This gives me 3.5 miles. I do this in half an hour, so she went 3.5 miles in half an hour. So when I divide, I end up getting that she is going 7 miles per hour. And that's the end of your lesson on converting measures.